I was asking Albert to talk a little bit about some writing that he's done on music, and I would say it's maybe not so much a kind of music as much as it is live music that's really important. It's that this sense that there's always more in a live music experience, whereas when you're listening to recorded music, and this is not a knock on listening to recorded music, I'm sure we all listen to plenty of recorded music, but you know, it's got to be the same time, or the same thing every time you play that track, and that there's always something new and always something a little more, even if it's just the dog barking in the background in that live music experience. And I don't know if you use this notion, but the idea that I remember associating with this is the idea of repleteness. That a live experience has always got something more.
Right. Repleteness is the character of reality, that when you probe it, there's always more that hangs together. And when you probe physically an iPod, you come upon stuff that has nothing to do with the picture that you looked at. And so the interesting thing about music is that we have become used to the idea that this very thin layer that we've peeled off and put on, you know, a CD or whatever, we call it music. And so much has dropped out. The people, the instruments, the time, the players, and of course, as you mentioned, the imperfections that tell us that, you know, there are real life people who are doing it. And again, it's a trend, you know, sex. I mean, pornography, that's sort of peeling off just one layer, and at the same time it gets devalued. Right? So we listen to the greatest piece of music ever written, you know, I don't know, Bass B minor Mass, and think, I turn it off. Whereas if you go to some church, some cathedral, you know, the people sitting with you, paying attention, make you persist, you know, and listen. You just don't just walk away, and you give music a chance, and then it can. I think music is the most powerful art there is, and the most deeply engaging and consoling, inspiring, and so on. And the reduction of music to a mere sound is so typical and misleading, I think, about the culture. Of course, the recorded music is perfect. There are no flaws. And but it doesn't have any depth. And and of course, again, the culture is just sort of jettisoning what little support there was to keep it from becoming so superficial in the technical sense, and that is, you know, music programs just get cut, and kids who, unless the parents are ambitious and devoted to music and see to lessons and instruments and all the rest, the other kids are just out of luck. And in the olden times, even in the case of my middle daughter, she learned to play the violin on a violin that was given to her by the music system of the grade school.
One of the things that fascinates me about it is that it feels magical. When you have a room that's quiet and a person sitting with their instrument, they begin to play, and literally atmosphere changes, and it is so powerful, and it can grab your heart. The other thing I wanted to say about live music, different than recorded music, is there's this interplay, a sort of dialogue of sorts between those who are listening and those who are playing. That's magical as well, and organic. It can't be planned. It unfolds before you, and you don't exactly know how it's going to go. That's why one of the reasons why going to live shows is so remarkable. Then the third thing I wanted to add now, in the defense of the thin little iPod, I spend an awful lot of time on a tractor. And sometimes I listen to podcasts, which are wonderful. I learn about all kinds of things. And sometimes I listen to music. The roar of the tractor is bit unpleasant and somewhat monotonous. And I wear ear protection, yet still it's unpleasant and monotonous. There have been plenty of times, actually I had one just the other day. The sky was all pink to the west, I turned the corner, I was listening to this beautiful music, and the sound was beautiful, and I felt that I was seeing the landscape in a different way, that without the music, the roar of the tractor had numbed my senses. In the same way, sort of some people say if you add a little salt to food, you get to taste the other flavors. The music had awakened some other senses, and I actually was able to kind of take in the beauty of the whole scene, where before I had been I'm just numbed with the roar of the tractor.
And it shows how focal engagement allows technology to attain its proper place.
Exactly.
Right. So you play the guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you love the CDs that have your Guitar Heroes in the real sense.
Yeah.
No, right? You wouldn't want to miss them. But it's very different for a person who doesn't play an instrument, and you know, there's just the superficial, oh, that sounds good. No notion what all goes into.
Oh yeah, and a
virtuoso.
guitar or any musical instrument is a fabulous piece of technology.
Yeah.
Of art and
Wonderful film on the making of Steinway, I think is the name of it. Goes through and shows how they build Steinway pianos, and you really come to appreciate the detail and care and the enormous number of very specific technical standards that are required to build a Steinway concert grand piano. And yet, unlike the MP3 file of Horowitz playing a piece of concert music, every Steinway piano is different. And they actually have a place down in New York City where they probably have 30 or 40 Steinways sitting around, and when concert pianists get ready to play a program, they'll come down and audition those pianos to find the one piano that is going to best fit the particular program of music and the acoustics of the venue in which they're going to perform. So that's an example of a piece of technology that finds its proper place, I think.
We don't make place for it, right? I mean, there must be, I don't know, millions of people in this country who are quite good at an instrument, and now it sits in some closet or in the attic, and they've lost the skill, they've lost the pleasure. You know, is there time for music? And you know, there's always the conceit, time-saving things, making things easier. What for?
Time for, yeah.
You know, for the elitists, I said it's you know, going crazy.
Doing with more activity.
Things, and for all the others, it's sitting in front of some screen passively and, you know, ruining their health.